Beneath the idyllic landscape of Tuscany's rolling hills lies a terrifying secret, one that has haunted the streets of Florence for decades. Between the 1960s and 1980s, couples were brutally slaughtered in the quiet countryside, their bodies discovered in remote lovers' lanes, their deaths marked by a savage, ritualistic signature. The killer became known as the Monster of Florence, a faceless predator who, to this day, has never been brought to justice. This is the story of one of Italy's most chilling unsolved mysteries. A case that still haunts the nation with the terror of a killer who might still be out there. The serene beauty of Florence, known for its art, history, and romance, turned into a nightmare for couples seeking privacy in the countryside. The first known killings occurred in 1968 when a couple was shot to death in their car, their bodies left in a secluded spot just outside the city. At first, it seemed like an isolated incident, a tragic crime of passion. But then, in 1974, another couple was found murdered under eerily similar circumstances. They had been gunned down in a lover's lane, their bodies mutilated after death. The gruesome pattern continued. It became clear that these were no random acts of violence. Between 1974 and 1985, the killer struck 7 more times, targeting younger couples parked in their cars deep in the woods, away from praying eyes. Each murder followed the same horrific method. Both victims were shot with a .22 caliber Beretta, and the female victims were then mutilated. It was a signature of cruelty that left the police and public horrified. This was no ordinary killer. This was someone who took pleasure in harming other people. Fear swept through Florence and the surrounding villages. People avoided the once popular countryside spots, and couples no longer felt safe venturing into the night. In Monster of Florence, the Monster of Florence spread like a wildfire. He was a figure of darkness lurking in the shadows, waiting for his next victims. The police were under intense pressure to catch the monster, but their investigation was mired in confusion and false lead. The first murder back in 1968 had already been closed with an arrest, but it became apparent that the real killer was still on the loose, leaving investigators scrambling to connect the dots. As the years went by, multiple suspects were arrested, only to be released when the murders continued. One of the most confounding aspects of the case was the meticulous nature of the killings. The killer left little physical evidence, and he seemed to know the perfect place to strike, avoiding detection and witness entirely. The killer's use of silencer on his weapon and his knowledge of the remote, intimate locations where couples would park at night hinted at someone with military or police experience, or someone who knew the rain intimately. Frustration mounted as each new lead went cold. At one point, the investigation centered around a group of local men, dubbed the Sadistic Pact, who were believed to be involved in satanic rituals. While these theories captured the public's imagination, they led nowhere. As the case grew colder, the Monster of Florence slipped farther into the shadows, his identity hidden behind layers of deception and fear. The police became desperate, turning their attention to a local farmer named Pietro Pacciani, a man with a violent past. He was arrested in 1993 and later convicted of several of murders. However, his conviction was overturned on appeal due to lack of evidence, and he died before he could be retrieved. The uncertainty of his guilt left the public feeling even more unsettled. Was Pacciani truly the monster, or was the real killer still out there, waiting for another opportunity to strike? Despite decades of investigation, dozens of arrests, and numerous theories, the case of the murder of Florence remains unsolved. The murders abruptly stopped after 1985, leaving the people of Florence with a chilling question. Did the killer simply disappear, or was he among them all along, living quietly under the radar? Some believe the monster may have died, while others are convinced that he escaped justice, never to be found. In the years that followed, the Monster of Florence case inspired countless books, documentaries, and even fictionalized accounts. Each new theory reopened old wounds, reminding the people of Florence that the monster who terrorized their city was never truly brought to justice. To this day, the identity of the monster Florence remains one of Italy's most enduring mysteries. His reign of terror has left an undeniable mark on the reign, a legacy of fear and unanswered questions. The lovers' lanes and quiet countryside paths that once held so much promise now carry a dark weight, a reminder that sometimes the most idyllic setting can hide the darkest secrets. The Monster of Florence is a haunting reminder that some evils remain unsolved, lurking in the shadows of history. The brutal killings left scars on a community, and while the case has long gone cold, the fear lingers. Could the killer still be out there, or was justice silently served unknown to the world? The truth may never be uncovered, but the terror the monster unleashed will forever be echoed into the landscape of Florence, a city known for beauty, yet forever marked by horror.